So I'm curious, as much as you want to share about the rise and closing of BoCa Flavor.
New York or Miami, really, it's kind of hard to get access to Caribbean flavor. So we wanted to create something that was convenient, universal. So BoCa Flavor is a love letter, really, to Caribbean flavor. And there was a gas explosion that occurred here, and it leveled the building, and they called the fire department. Once they got there and literally evacuated and pull out, the building just blew up. Then COVID hits.
What does Phoenix Unlimited do?
I am always networking, always meeting, always collecting information. So why not package it in a way where I can create this dynamic ecosystem to help incubate, nurture, and advocate other entrepreneurs in their endeavors?
What's up, y'all? This is the Omi Show. I am Omi Bell, and I'm so excited to be here with y'all today. We bring you authentic insight into the world of finance, pop culture, tech, and business news. Our guest today is Suzanne Delica. Am I saying that right? Delica? Delica.
Yes.
Is a remarkable, I hate getting people's names wrong. It's like a pet peeve of mine.
Oh, listen, I'm all for it.
Is a remarkable mompreneur and serial entrepreneur. Suzanne's mission is to build legacy and community, a mission she's pursued through groundbreaking ventures like the first closed mentor franchise in Maryland and BoCa Flavor, a Caribbean fusion flavoring company. Her journey is a testament to the fusion of Haitian heritage and education in electrical engineering and an MBA specializing in entrepreneurship and marketing. Okay, we have to talk about that. And then hands-on experience working with small business. Suzanne's entrepreneurial spirit shines through her latest venture, Phoenix Unlimited. Okay, I said that, y'all, because you can't see the acronym, but it's PHNX, or the way it's written is PHNX Unlimited. An innovation hub spotlighting Central Maryland businesses in various sectors. All right, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. 7 weeks postpartum on my third child, but I'm still alive and kicking. So,
well, congratulations!
Thank you.
That's awesome. Yes. What's the gap between your second child, third child?
I have 3, 4, and under, so I am crazy all around.
3 kids, 4 and under.
Yes, Elias is 4, Enzo is 20 months, and then our new one, Idris, is 7 weeks.
Wow, you've been busy.
Yes.
Okay.
COVID did that for a lot of us, though.
Yeah. What you can't call COVID on the third one.
No, I can't. We gotta find a new hobby.
Okay, well listen, and you building businesses at the same time? Okay, I hear you. Getting busy and building businesses, I'm with it. I have 3 children as well.
So you know.
Yeah, but it's like maybe a 12-year gap in between my second and third kid.
Well, then you have a living babysitter, hopefully.
No, not 12 years. That my older kids are gone. So I have a 24-year-old, 21-year-old, and a 9-year-old.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's a good team.
Yeah, so we ain't having no living 21-year-olds. You gotta go.
You
gotta go. But okay, so in reading your background, there's a few different things.
Yes.
So I think I just want to pause and just, what's your overview of who you are and what you've done?
I definitely feel that I'm a well-rounded person, and it's hard to translate that a lot of times, especially when you're like developing a resume and applying for jobs, because my experience is so vast. But as an entrepreneur, I feel like I've positioned myself in a great way to really grasp the business concepts. So from, my marketing background, my entrepreneurial spirit, which I've garnered that from my parents. They migrated here in the 80s with merchant roots. They've always been small business owners. But of course, having Haitian Caribbean parents, to them, it's like you're going to either be a lawyer, doctor, or engineer. So it was very, institutionalized in a sense to look into pursuing a degree, which I did as an electrical engineer, worked in the nuclear energy industry for a number of years, but I could not tolerate the politics. I was just like, this old boy network is not working for me, especially being like, a fashion connoisseur. I'd come in with my bantu knots and my hoops, and it just, it made me really stand out, which I didn't mind because I had that experience in college as well, going to University of Florida. But it really got to a point where I always felt opinionated and wanted and always felt the right, or to share my opinions about things, and especially when it came to diversity, and that didn't really sit well with a number of people. So the writing was on the wall. I've gained all I could gain in my experience there. Being, I always say, like, I'm an expert in design and execution, and that being an engineer really taught me how to do that. And I ended up coming across the opportunity with the support of my now husband, but then boyfriend at the time, to open up a franchise. Being that I was doing my MBA, started learning about those different business approaches, and came across Close Mentor and decided, you know what, deuces, here's my pink slip. And I'm just really gonna bullhead this entrepreneurial thing full time. And I did that in 2017.
I love that. So our first question is always, you could be doing anything in the world. You could be selling the seven seas. You could be climbing the highest mountain. You could be, a spiritual guru if you wanted to. And
Mm,
then it's, why did you decide to start the thing that you started? I think in this case, you just gave us your why. You started multiple things. I
mhm.
guess from the mentoring franchise, what made you start the BoCa Flavor company? Like, like, I think like those feel like two different, totally different worlds. And I love it because, I always want people to know that you can do anything. You just got to
Yes,
do it one at a time.
right. Listen, even being a
Um,
mom, all of it.
right.
It is. I do believe you can have it all. I completely agree with you, Omi. It's all about balance and season, right? So there might be the season for this and not for that. You just have to be patient and pivot when the time calls, but or when the opportunity
Season, but
arises. Right,
not
the
pun
season.
intended. So tell us about BoCa Flavor.
Yeah. So, well, I guess I'll rewind a little bit because it'll give like the foreshadow to what how I even got into food. I mean, we're dynamic people. I'm not just engineer. I'm not just a fashionista. I'm also a foodie. So these things might sound far fetched when you look at them on paper, but they're all part of who I am. And when I had the franchise, we were doing amazing things. We were one of the smallest footprints for the brand in out of all of their 100+ stores, and we were doing exceptionally well as far as growing and being like a top performer by our second year. And we had the store here in Columbia, Maryland. And in 2019, I was 8 months pregnant with my first, and there was a gas explosion that occurred here, and it leveled the building that my store was in. Luckily, and thank God, like, it was a morning right before we opened, so the building was pretty empty. My husband, who usually opens the store, wasn't there yet, and um, someone smelled gas that happened to be working out in the gym there, and they called the fire department. Once they got there and literally evacuated and pulled out, the building just blew up. So I get a call from my one of my customers who lived close by and was like, did you hear about this? And I'm like, what? The cameras, I ended up looking, my cameras are out. So we go there, the building is up in flames. I'm like, it literally looked like a CGI, movie situation. And I was, of course, devastated. But you know what? I'm a tenacious person. We'll just cry, pick up the pieces, and keep it moving, in which we tried to do. Then COVID hits. So now we're in the beginning of 2020 and trying to reopen this store, and it's just all no's across the board, with trying to move forward. So at that point, we had to make the decision: do we pause? Do we just let it go? Because it just was not an opportune time to try to open up a physical store when people were, receding and like sitting at home. So my friend and I, Jaleese at the time, were just kind of catching up. And we were like, hey, what business ideas do you have on the shelf? Because she had just got finished graduating from Wharton Business School. And so we were like, you know what? We've been friends for over a decade, more than a decade at that point. So maybe we should like do something together, since we have very similar personalities. And we decided to explore all of our interests, and food came up, and we created BoCa Flavor. She's Jamaican, I'm Haitian, and we knew people were at home. It was quarantine kitchen at the time. Everybody was becoming an at-home chef. So we were like, man, this is an opportune time to, bring some Caribbean fusion, unite us, make people happy, especially like in this really depressing time through food. And BoCa Flavor was born out of that.
Okay, so tell us, like, what is it? Like, was it I mean, like, great, love that story. What is it? Is it
Yeah.
was it a pack of seasoning? Was it a, like, sauce on the shelf? Like, what is BoCa flavoring exactly?
So BoCa Flavor is a love letter really to Caribbean flavor. What we created was our flagship product was Taino spice, and it's all-purpose seasoning that we created from scratch, inspired by the Haitian epis, similar to sofrito. You've seen a lot of these things now on social media, and then of course allspice. A lot of the seasonings and herbs that make Caribbean food taste the way it does, and we wanted to pay homage to not just the cooking that we grew up enjoying, but also to the original people of the Caribbean, the Taino people. And so we created BoCa Flavor to kind of bring that sweet home essence of the Caribbean to our American people, especially because when we were in college and we would drive hours, I was 4.5 hours from home. And that's the time that I was able to get my oxtail, my patties and all these things. And I would freeze them and haul them back. And so we were like, man, we know that a lot of other people have this limited access like we do, especially because if you're not in New York or Miami, really, it's kind of hard to get access to Caribbean flavor. So we wanted to create something that was convenient, universal, versatile, and all purpose just made sense because it was a little bit of everything that you needed. So it eliminated that use of like multiple seasoning bottles. You had everything in that one. And it honestly could be used on any and everything from fruits to veggies, snacking, drinks. So we created something that was pretty unique and very proud of. And honestly, not to be biased, but it was a 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10
Okay, you
across the
better.
board. I
I
just gotta
mean,
say,
well,
like, it's
listen,
good.
tell
It's
us
good,
about
good.
I love that. And so tell us about the rise and closing, right? Because
Yes.
I think that, pandemic hits 2020. You get rocking on this thing. I don't know exactly what the timeline is. Maybe middle of 2020 or so.
We opened November. We launched November 2020, so it was still
Okay.
COVID. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So November 2020, you launch. I guess it looks like you may have raised some money and did
Hmm.
some, like, went on a journey and then maybe had some sales. And now it's November 2023. So that's interesting. Hey, look at that. November
Yeah.
2020 and now exactly November 2023 and y'all are actually shutting it down. Tell it.
Yeah.
And I love this as much as you feel comfortable enough to share because we don't often hear about the full cycle of business, right?
Right.
We talk a lot about businesses starting up, but we don't often hear from people when they're shutting down or
Yeah.
selling or, or deciding to dissolve. So I'm curious, as much as you want to share about the rise and closing of BoCa Flavor.
Yeah. So the love for Caribbean flavor will always be there, and there'll always be a need for it. And we really felt that BoCa Flavor was in a position to fulfill that need. Um, but when it comes to creating a business, especially when you have a partner or partners, it's always going to be a challenge to, you know, be on the same page as far as like business principles. And I think when it comes to BoCa Flavor, we came out the gate like super excited and thrilled about what we created and how we wanted to bring it to the world. And we were on the page, we were on the same page a lot of times. But I think life happens. It's not that it's business happens, life happens. And for me and Jaleese, we both are in a different trajectory of life where I have, 3 kids. So I'm limited in my capacity. And Jaleese is, corporate woman. She's excelling in that capacity. So we're just in different seasons. And sometimes those seasons clash in the sense where as much as I could give, as much as I wanted to give more, capacity is limited, and that ends up affecting the pace, the progress of the company. So it really taught me. I would say the learning lesson is just like you can do, which we did a lot of. We did the personality test. We did the like evaluation to see if we had good business fit as far as her perspective on business and mine. But I think where we fell short was just personally, where is she and where am I, and how does that affect the progress of the business. And so I think we just came to a point where we were like, you know what, this is we before this can get even more complex with like product on the shelf, dealing with co-packers, because we were doing everything by hand operationally. This was our baby. Like we did everything. So we knew that it had the potential, and we felt, you know what, when we were at that crossroads, before it got more complex and harder to separate or to deal with these lifestyle issues, uh, it was best for us to just make the call to end it at that time. But listen, like I said, Caribbean flavor and uh, is something that the world is enjoying and should continue to enjoy. Not just the oxtail on a Sunday. It's something that we believe is uh, flavoring good enough for every day, just like your Mediterranean or Italian. So there's always going to be opportunity to bring that to the forefront and to continue to spotlight it. So we're still
Yeah.
amicable, but we just
Yeah.
had to pause, take reality as it is.
And I mean, it's a regular thing to do. I
Yeah.
think that like it may not always feel comfortable when people have to dissolve a business, but it's actually a part of life. So I
Yeah,
think
it
that like,
is. It happens.
it
Yeah.
is it I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing what you have done. Did it get I mean, did you have like sales? Did you reach a
Yes,
certain level
girl. We
of
were we were doing really well. And like I said, like this is something that people want right now. Like there's a need for spice, for flavor. And we were definitely on a good trajectory. We had our eyes set on target, and we had a lot of things like in play to position ourselves to be where our customers were.
how much did you raise?
So we were able to raise through outside funding and support. We were able to raise like 25,000, and through sales, we were close to catching up to that in our individual actual product sales as well. So it was just a matter of you know, getting the operations to line up with the demand. Because again,
Mm.
I was making this stuff in my house, and having, kids and all this stuff going on. It was just a lot, which we knew that co-packing was going to be something we would consider, but that also, you have to think about margin, right? When you're getting into that larger manufacturing capacity. So it was a lot to consider. So we had to, unfortunately, we were like, you know what? Yeah.
So you're going into your next endeavor, and this is working with businesses. Phoenix Unlimited.
hmm
What does Phoenix Unlimited do?
So Phoenix Unlimited is something that I actually been working on for a long time, because I've always been one to give. I love sharing my resources. I love giving advice. And I have quite a bit of friends that, venture into business for the first time or serial, and they are just looking for some consultation. And it came to me that I really have a heart for small business owners. Like I've been there, I'm in the trenches with them. And I am always networking, always meeting, always collecting information. So why not package it in a way where I can create this dynamic ecosystem to help incubate, nurture, and advocate other entrepreneurs in their endeavors. So I'm right with Phoenix Unlimited. It's an innovation hub that is centered around businesses in food and beverage, real estate, and technology. And the reason why I've selected those particular sectors is one, because I'm passionate about them, but also because I'm looking to create a space called Gastro Exchange here in Central Maryland. That's a commercial kitchen, that's a food stall, and a community space for Central Maryland businesses and residents.
I love that. Where can we find you? Where can we get more information? Where can we, stay tuned for the development of Gastro Exchange?
So we're working on launching and collaborating with a local delegate here in Anne Arundel County. So you can find us in Anne Arundel County, Howard County, Central Maryland. The website is Phoenix Unlimited, PHNXULTD.com. You can find us also on social media, on Facebook and Instagram with the same name, Phoenix Unlimited, PHNXULTD. And it's something big that I'm working on. Definitely going to be right now growing our core membership. So if you're looking to be part of our inaugural core, please reach out. You can also sign up on our website.
Thank you so much, Suzanne Delica.
Yes.
She is now CEO, founder, creator of Phoenix Unlimited. And y'all make sure you check her out at all those places that she mentioned. Thank you so much for joining us, Suzanne. Y'all keep it locked right here. We'll be right back. We are introducing a new sort of moment, a segment. So you heard me interview Suzanne Delica, who is the creator, CEO, founder of Phoenix Unlimited. And you heard me interview her, but now I'm going to give her a chance to ask me some questions. Okay. And these questions are open-ended. It could be about whatever. It could be about life. It could be about business. It could be about what the heck are you doing on Saturday? I don't know. Okay. So I have not previewed these questions. So I'm excited to kind of jump in and see, hey, this Ask Omi moment. Okay. Go ahead, Suzanne.
You got this. You're in the hot seat, but I'll go easy on you.
Don't even worry about it. I don't need you don't gotta go easy on me. It's fine.
Okay, all right. Well, so my first question for you is, you've been in a unique position to support hundreds of women entrepreneurs through Black Girl Ventures. What would you say is one critical thing that equates to a successful business idea? And what is one critical thing that makes a successful business person?
Oh, okay. Because on the successful business idea thing, honestly, there's no sort of standalone successful business idea in that way, right? Like, I think there are like, oh, that's a good idea, but like the playing out of that, oh, that's a good idea, could mean, oh, this actually ain't a good idea, or it's not a good idea in the way the person was thinking about executing it. So there's no like standalone good idea without the founders, people engaged in the vision to carry it forward. Something can just be like, oh, I mean, successful, I'm saying. So there's no standalone successful idea, but there is good business ideas. Now, there are standalone successful business people or like great business people where they could go from anything to anything and kind of like always put that strategy on it, always have their own thing, and pretty much like what they touch turns to gold kind of thing. So, okay, let me break it down. For a good idea, it is one that we know has a market for it. Two, in my opinion, has a sort of ease into a person's life as soon as they see it. Right? So meaning like, I know I need, to your point about the seasoning, right? Like BoCa Flavor, you're like, oh, people in America, you know what? It's crazy. Because we're in this country, we're from this country, we forget that it is also another country. Right? So if you came from somewhere else, it's another country for you. So just like when you go to Haiti and they're not going to have some American things, there's going to be Haitians in America and they're not going to have some Haitian things. You know what I mean? And so in that case, I think we forget that that's a market. Oh, we have X amount of, Hispanic population. We have X amount of people from, Asia. We have X amount of people from other places. Oh, so that's a market in this country. You take that flavor over to somewhere else, it might not be a market because they got it everywhere, right? So I would say like something that like there's a market for it and it has a sort of ease of placement in your life. You know, I heard you saying during the break like your mom doesn't cook without certain flavors, right? Well, for her, that means I gotta have it. That demand gotta be there. And there's lots of people like that. So I think that ease of placement in your life is on a shelf. I grab it, I use it. Another thing that or a system that comes to your life like a Uber or a Google or there's so many tap to pay things, even things that you like get on your phone, put on your phone. The number of phone holders that I have purchased from TikTok shop is ridiculous. I need to be stopped. Okay. The number of little trinkets, the little things, the decorating is a thing that I buy is crazy. The apps that we download. There's an app. I went to the rainforest recently, and there's an app that you can download. Even though there's like Google Glass or Scan or whatever, you can still download an app and it'll listen to the sound of the birds and tell you what bird it is. Right.
Oh,
So
wow.
like there's just so much available for things to easily enter into your life. Okay, so that's one thing. When it comes to a successful business person, I think that there is a intersection of experiences that have created an ability to think and problem solving that is very unique. So you being an engineer, I'm an engineer, I'm a computer scientist. So like an engineer that is able to intersect with art, in my opinion, is if they can like balance their sort of left brain, right brain thinking so that they're not all the way introverted or all the way extroverted, or so they can like float the middle. That's the sweet spot. There's a book called Daniel Pink called A Whole New Mind. And in that book, he talks about how right brain people with left brain attributes will rule the world. Now, this book was written years ago, and it's what I have used as a part of building my businesses. Because in there he gives you different kind of like exercises, and there's a couple of the attributes he lists them out: story, design, symphony. There's a few of them, and I've taken these and been like, the way you design how things move and flow, that's the way that you think. The way that you create symphony between all the parts of your life and what you do in the business, that's the way of thinking. The way that you can story tell, or the way that your story comes out and what you're doing, the way you're able to leverage that, that is all about the way that you're able to think. So I think that a successful business person is a person who is able to think in a certain way that solves problems and creates excitement in other people, and they're able to leverage that excitement to make money.
I love that, because growing up, and especially for younger entrepreneurs or people who are just still figuring themselves out, you a lot of times feel like you have to be on either side of the coin. And if you're in the middle, something's wrong with you. And I was made to feel that way. Like I said, and you've experienced that yourself, being an engineer and being into fashion, being into the creative space, not feeling like you fit, or that you can translate that in a way that other people can understand. And there's ingenuity in that, that is not appreciated enough, or that's not celebrated enough. So that spoke to me, and I wrote down the name of that book because I haven't heard of it, but there's beauty in being able to do that dance, between, you said, like the left side and the right side of the brain. And
100%. There was
100%, yeah.
This woman. I was at the National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE. They had an event one year at University of Maryland, and I had gone. And so I used to do performance poetry. And so like on one side of what they were doing, I did poetry. On the other side, I sat on a panel with engineers, and the students witnessed both. But like it wasn't all the same people on both, right? Like I'm in a group of poets and we all perform. And then all of them left except for me. And then I went to this engineering panel to talk about being an engineer. And afterward, this student came up to me and she was crying. And she was like, oh my God, like, my parents told me that I couldn't be, or people have always told me that I couldn't be both, that I couldn't be both an artist and an engineer. She's like, I am so inspired to see somebody being both. And I looked at her and I'm thinking like, oh my God, I don't know that I'm thinking that this is that as big of a problem or challenge, I'll say, to the way that our parents have had to traditionally think about who we can be
Right.
as it is. I'm like, oh wow, this is something that people need to hear. So the more you can tell your story about being an electrical engineer and starting businesses, like that is going to be key in you helping business owners moving forward.
Oh, thank you. That was, yeah, that speaks to me. So we'll take a different turn here because I've been a part of the Black Girl Ventures pitch competitions, which we had an amazing time experience doing. But there is some responses that sometimes people see competitions, especially those that involve public voting, as a popularity contest. How does Black Girl Ventures ensure that the underdog has a fair chance of winning in these type of competitions? In a sense, even the playing field.
I love that. So okay, so there's a couple of things. One, the Black Girl Ventures pitch competition is geared toward helping you raise money. So when I started the vote with your dollars model, I tested it and I noticed that people whose like family gave to them,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm like, well, why do you think your family gave to you as a part of this, but you're having trouble raising money overall? And the response that I got was, one, when you're a part of a competition, it's validating. There's
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to win something. And it's an easier way to explain to your family members what you're doing,
Right.
right? Because we know that you might be the first business owner in your family. You might be the one taking the leap. You might be the second, but you're starting a way different business than somebody else started. And so people are looking at you like, why would you do that? You need to go get your good government job. Why would you, you know, I don't know about that, but the minute you are entered into a competition, people want to rally behind you that
Mm-hmm.
love you and they're willing to give. Now, our pitch competition, you have to donate. You're part of the voting has donating. So this is not just a popularity contest in the sense that you send something out now all your followers just click a like button,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case. This is you people have to actually show how much they actually support you by giving their capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're saying, I want you to be a really great fundraiser. That's a part of it, right? Some people had not really raised even a friends and family round because they had been too nervous to go and ask friends and family for money, or they always get this response of like, I ain't got no money, or they're just like, oh, my family ain't got no money, so I can't even go ask my family, right? As soon as they get into a competition, though, there's a different
Yeah.
view of that. Like
Yeah.
something else turns on in people where they're like, oh no, I'm gonna try to help you win. I at least got $5.
Right.
Right. Now we all know that we spend $5 to $20, even $100 on stupid stuff.
Right.
Stuff that does not impact our life positively, stuff that does not matter. On $20 we probably spend on a weekly basis, and we can't tell you where it went at the end of the month. So for family members to kind of click into, or the light bulb to go, oh wow, I'm going to support my friends, cousins,
Mm-hmm.
favorite person's business by giving this $5 that I would typically go buy a meal at McDonald's or something, or go
Right.
buy something random. I'm going to contribute this, and I feel a self efficacy around,
Mhm.
that I support you, and
Right.
I've taken that action to show that, even though maybe I didn't buy your product, maybe I didn't download your app, but you saw that I support you because you in the competition, and I want you to win, right? So that's one part of the way we do it, which is unique. Also, behind the scenes, and I'm glad you asked me this because I don't talk about it often. Behind the scenes, the way our algorithm works, there's two different algorithms. So there's one algorithm that's a classic algorithm, which is just $5 or more is one vote.
Mm-hmm.
And you could only vote once. So a person could give you more money and you'll still get that money, but only their first donation is a vote. Right. So there's that is classic, and it's just donation, vote one. No matter
Mm-hmm.
what the dollar amount is, it's one vote. Because of, what you're talking about, I developed a second algorithm, because what would happen is people trying to game the system,
Yeah.
right? So people are doing things like, and listen, I'm not even mad at you deciding to give like a discount on your product so you can get more votes. I'm not mad
Mm-hmm.
at that. That is a fundraising tactic, right?
Right.
I'm not mad at you holding special events for yourself or doing things. I think that we got to separate, oh my God, this person went out and actually took other steps to get more votes in, from somebody trying to use one credit card with multiple fake accounts. That
Mhm.
is where we draw the line. And we do an audit behind the scenes. I'll talk about it in a second. But that's
Right.
where we draw the line, right? We want real individuals that are actually donating to real people. And we do a 7-day audit after the competition is over to make sure that that's happening. The new second algorithm, the way it works is it takes the votes and divides them by the dollar amount. So it's actually to your benefit to raise more money
Mhm.
than to just go out and get a bunch of votes.
Yeah.
Because we want you to turn on your fundraising brain. We want you to
Yeah.
make bigger asks. We want you to see yourself as, okay, well, if these people see you as a part of a competition and they're ready to play the game, then ask them for more than you would traditionally ask them for. Don't just go ask them for $5 because $5
Right.
is a vote, right? That's the minimum amount to vote. That's great. You can get $5, but you can get $100, right? And so the number of votes divided by the amount of money will give you a vote score. And then that's whoever gets the highest score then gets those top prizes. Top prizes $10,000, $6,000, $2,000, right? So long way of answering your question. That there's a couple things that we put in place for our competition to kind of get away from that idea that like, oh, just click like so the person with the most followers can win.
Right.
No, this is you having to go raise money. So sometimes the person with the most followers don't win because their followers don't always convert to giving them capital.
True. Right. And
Right?
that's marketing. That's social media marketing in itself, right?
Exactly.
Having all those
And
followers doesn't always equate to dollars.
100%.
Yeah.
And with the vote score algorithm, it's a little, you really got to be concentrated on raising dollars,
Yeah.
not just getting a bunch of one-off votes. And so different competitions take different ones. It really just depends on what that competition is, and deciding like what might be best for that particular market. Sometimes it's a smaller market for us or a newer market for us. We'll do the classic one, so that people can have a little bit more ease. If
Yeah.
they may be newer in business. If we have a batch of people that are more new in business, like maybe they haven't been around for a while, they haven't piloted deeply, that kind of thing. We want to like create the best odds
Yeah,
for people
that's
to
a fair
win.
approach. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what I loved about Black Girl Ventures and the way you approached it. Your engineer brain, your beautiful
right.
engineering brain, at work here, just thinking about all the different perspectives to make it as fair as possible, which is important because it can feel like a popularity contest with some of these pitches these competitions that are out there. But like you said, it's about you showing that you are believing your business concept as well enough to make the ask. But I know we're short on time, so I want to get this other question out because this is near and dear for me. What advice would you give or offer up to someone who wants to create an organization that's dedicated to helping a segment of founders gain access, whether that's to funds, real estate, et cetera, et cetera? Like, what's your advice? How do I make it happen? How do I make Phoenix Unlimited happen?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked me that. And one of the reasons I'm glad you asked me that is because when I was starting Black Girl Ventures, I felt like I was going to people who were popular in this space, and they were kind of looking at me like, I remember one lady, who won't be named, but she, I'm like, oh, hey, like I'm starting this organization, it's called Black Girl, at that time, Black Girl Vision. And, it's similar to, what you're doing, but it's a little different. She's like, oh, go to my website and, go to my website and just send me an email. And I kind of looked at her like, oh, she don't know I'm coming. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay.
Right.
You
There's
think I'm
no
just
space
about to
for
stay
all of us,
small.
though.
I'm like, so I never take for granted when people ask me this question. How did you build Black Girl Ventures? Or, how could I build my own organization? Or, I can't always partner with you. Maybe I may not be able to fund certain things that you're doing, but I can absolutely tell you what I learned and how you create a great organization the best you can and the best I can. Because at the end of the day, like, this was my longest standing, most successful, and most employee business with the most employees, right?
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways it feels like it's not my first business, but in a lot of ways it kind of feels like that because it got so big.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of internal mistakes, things that I'm thinking of right at this moment that I am working through cleaning up. I hired the wrong people. Our operations have, at some point, have had their inefficiencies that we have to keep trying to clean up and edit and make better. I may not have always communicated the best as a leader, because I'm holding two pieces. I'm holding up like the fundraising and shaking hands, kissing babies on stages, yada yada yada, and I'm trying to be like the best leader I can be internally with the biggest team I've ever had, with the biggest funders I've ever had, in the biggest moment of our life. You know what I mean? Like, so all of that has been a little bit challenging to move through, and that's me being very transparent and vulnerable about that, right? So here's what I'll share. Couple things. One things that I know that I did absolutely right is create core values for your organization and always see yourself with the potential to get bigger. Right? Like, look at it like, okay, I was always using words like we. I was always, it might have been me and two other people, me and some volunteers, but I'm like we because the vision that I saw for what I was doing was always bigger. Creating core values as early on as you can, even if you end up shifting them. Core values, creating brand guidelines, like creating a brand. Black Girl Ventures is a brand.
Yeah.
When people work with us, we have brand guidelines. Here's how you work with us. Creating those kinds of things. Not just thinking about what you didn't like in the last workplace you were in, but actually envisioning a future of the workplace you want to create and knowing what comes with that. Like, I want a workplace where I'm like, I want everybody to be themselves. But then I realized, like, when you have a workplace where everybody is quote unquote themselves, you also end up having to govern their whole self, or not govern, but like manage their whole self or lead their whole self. And that's actually not as easy as it sounds. I found myself in some instances wanting to help. And so I was giving a lot of life advice when I should have just backed up off of that and been like, that's not my place. I really want you to be great at work. And so thinking about, like, you're creating a workplace, you're creating a job, right? So on that note, another piece about like just the operations of your company. I remember when I started, I want to do this thing, I want to do that thing. And somebody said, just do one thing great. And that was a pitch competition. What people don't know behind the scenes is I studied the mega church. Okay. I studied the mega church to figure out how I wanted to build Black Girl Ventures, because I knew I wanted a sorority kind of feel. I knew that I wanted to build community. So be clear on what you know about what you want to build. I want to build community, and I want a community to be the center point of everything that we do and our impact. So I studied what was closest to it, which was the mega church, which was like, the mega church has a sorority kind of affinity, a university kind of affinity, right? It has a grand leader. It has you have grand leadership, and so that, and I took away from that how you onboard people into the experience from the community. So think about how you want your community to interact with you and how you want to interact with them. I'm gonna stop there because I got a bunch of other stuff I can say, but ultimately, write down things the energy you want, the way you want people to feel, not just the people you serve, but your partners. I want our partners to be on a part of our sorority too, just like our community members. So think about core values. It's the mushy stuff.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. The concrete stuff you can go find, but it's the mushy stuff, the energy, the feeling, the way people act toward people is what really what sets you apart. How accessible you are, how you move in your community, where you show up. Doubling down on you being you and what you already know. You're an electrical engineer. You done worked in multiple places. You had companies. You know a whole lot. Double down on that and go into those spaces with pride and holding your head up. And other entrepreneurs will see you and be like, we out here. I get you. You get me. How can we help each other? And creating a many to many experience versus a one to many experience is a key.
I love that. Focusing on the tribe.
That's right.
Yeah.
100%. Internally and externally, by any means necessary. Good, bad, right, wrong, and different. People gonna come, they're gonna go, they're gonna love you, they're gonna hate you, they're gonna like what you said, they're gonna not like what you said, and you're gonna be like, dang, should I have said that? Oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, You're going to be, it's a real, Black Girl Ventures is a real, true human experience. Hands down, period. That's what I would say. I don't think anybody would argue that, even if they didn't like the way that the leadership was or whatever. I don't think anybody would argue that it is probably the most human experience at work that you will ever have internally. And it's probably the most human experience in business relating to each other that you will ever have in business.
Well, thank you, Omi.
Thank you. That was great.
This was great.
I appreciate that. That was awesome. That was awesome. Make sure you get the book, Originate, Motivate, Innovate, 7 Steps for Building a $1 Billion Network, anywhere that you buy your books. Make sure that you're checking out Suzanne Delica and Phoenix Unlimited out in Maryland. The Gastro Exchange is coming, a commercial kitchen for people to be able to get grow their companies. I'm excited to hear about that.